those two, you end up living a perfect life, because if the closer you get to those two, because those two, I think, if you love someone, if you love God, if you love your neighbor, automatically your behavior, you won't do the bad things, you won't be doing bad things, you'll be trying to do all the good things because of your love for them.
Yes.
So in the Old Testament we talk about the 10 commandments. I think everyone will be familiar with the 10 commandments, which talk about don't lie, don't steal, don't do all these things. But now Christ talks about love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Now that, I think, I would say is the key, the core teaching, because from that everything else flows. It's not just love yourself, see, because we tend to, I am me and I have a slightly different standard the way I treat another person.
Yeah.
But if I had to treat the other person as I would treat myself, I think automatically we will, if we try to follow that principle, we will be living what is as close to a perfect life as we can, I think.
Yeah. The concept of love, I believe, is also very important in Buddhism. Lal, what is, how would you describe the core teachings of Buddhism?
Right, okay. Yeah, principle of love is quite important to Buddhism, but actually to get to the core teaching of Buddhism, the Buddha considers the mind as the forerunner of all actions. So Buddhism lays emphasis on the mind, purification of the mind. Practically, there are two ways to purify the mind, that is stilling the entire process of thoughts, and the second, once you still that, you use that as a base to analyze your own mind, and you learn about yourself. So that is the fundamental value of Buddhism, purity of mind. That purity, love and generosity and compassion, they all are secondary as compared to the most immediate issue is to purify that mind, so that that can be used for other positive actions.
Right. So it's only from a pure mind can qualities such as that come.
Exactly, that's a fundamental core of Buddhism.
I've also heard that suffering is meant. How do you sort of?
Yeah, the Buddha defines suffering as all-pervading. Even our own existence is suffering, but to see that we need to still the mind and turn our gaze inwards. Then only you can understand all that happens. That has to be done first. So I would call purity of mind as the core of teaching of the Buddha.
Right. And Professor Rahim, how would you tell us about the core teaching of Islam? What would you say is the essence of Islam?
I would say there are two really. I would say there is faith and charity. And I think those are the two core values of Islam, and they are embodied in what we, which is traditionally known as the 5 pillars of Islam, because there are five tenets that any Muslim should carry out, and they include, like the Christians, we believe in the oneness of God, in the oneness of Allah. There is only one God, only one Allah, and that Muhammad is his prophet. Then you also have to, if you are a Muslim, you have to go on your pilgrimage, which is a manifestation of your faith. And you also have to, it is enjoined on us, it is, we are expected to give of charity. That's the third faith. And the brotherhood of Islam, where you have to pray 5 times a day. That's again faith, which is, sort of part of religion. So there are those 5 pillars of Islam which have to be carried out if you profess to be a Muslim.
Right. Okay. Yashudhara did mention about ancient texts, and a lot of religions are based on certain principles that have been written down. What are the texts? What are the main sort of texts, if you like, that guide the religion? Where do you find it?
First and foremost text is Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad
Gita, it's a conversation between Arjuna and Lord Krishna.
Right.
So in this text actually in the present context we can say religious conflicts are there. So even in that, the Hinduism says that war could be accepted in certain circumstances. So in that Bhagavad Gita, the conversation between, if you see the conversation, the laws of war, today we speak laws of war. When your preparing for a war, so you have to have certain preparations. So you should not you have to take care of children, old age people, women, like those kind of things actually well written in Bhagavad Gita. Apart from Bhagavad Gita, Vedas, we have 4 main Vedas: Irik, Jasur, Samam, Adharvam. These all Vedas, actually these Vedas came later, because even in the Hinduism there are 2 categories. One is Hindu valleys, people, Dravidians, and the other one Aryans. So the most Aryans cultures, practices and beliefs, all these things are written in the 4 Vedas. The subdivision of 4 Vedas, again later this Upanishads, that is also main text. All these, we consider this is actually foremost is Bhagavad Gita. I think every Hindu is expected to read this Bhagavad Gita. That's
right. And Sunetra, you spoke about the Old Testament. Can you tell us more about what texts are considered the more significant texts of Christianity?
The Bible actually is the core text that any Christian would use, and the Bible is divided into 2. We have the Old Testament and the New Testament. So the Old Testament covers from the time of creation till the coming of Christ. And the New Testament deals with, you have 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, which talk about they detail Christ's life while he was on earth. And then you have the letters to the various letters that were written after his death to the various communities, and the Revelations. So that talks about the after Christ, the period from that point onwards, and all the teachings basically in your life, what you're supposed to do, all that is included in this one Bible, which is the text, like she would say, that all people should, actually every Christian should be reading.
Right. Professor Rahim, is the Quran the only text related to Islam? Is there anything else?
Well, it's the main text. It is the text. Like as Sunetra said, everybody should read the Bible, and that every Hindu should read the Bhagavad Gita. In Islam, the Quran is the main text, and that is what children are taught. The first thing you are taught to read is the Arabic alphabet and the Quran. But you also have supporting texts, as it were, which guide the religion, which is the Hadith, which is the which are related to the Prophet. The stories related to the Prophet and his actions, and what he did is a guide to what we should do in in this world. So they provide the guidelines as well.
The Hadith.
Hadith, yes.
Right.
The Quran was the revelation of by God to the Prophet, and the Hadith are his actions and descriptions of his how he acted and behaved, which form a guide to our behavior.
Right. And in Buddhism,
as far as Buddhism is concerned, I think the texts are very vast, so much so that some are not even translated to English still. From Pali. So what I would say is, though the scholars say that Dhammapada is the Buddhist main text, it's a good introduction, but but my opinion is more than the Dhammapada, the Visuddhimagga, which is called the Path of Purification, gives lists the entire Buddhist meditational practice, and that's where the core of the teaching is, as I told you earlier, purification of the mind. How you do it is there all in the Visuddhimagga, or the Path of Purification.
Right. Okay. Now, all of these religions have symbols, and we basically know what the symbols are, but I would like to know more about it. So, Professor Rahim, what's the symbol of Islam? I know what it is, but I would like you to share it with us, and the meaning especially.
Yeah, I think the symbol that most people associate with Islam is the crescent moon and the star.
Yeah.
And it seems that it's really, no one is quite sure where it came from, and no one is quite sure what it means.
Oh.
So probably means the heavens or God's power or something like that. It's really not written down anywhere that this was the symbol and these are the symbols that one must use. But one thing is accepted, is that green is the color of Islam.
Really? And
it was the color of the Prophet.
No particular reason, but
no, it was the color apparently used by the Prophet, and most, if you look at Islamic countries across the world, you will see green
the flags
quite prominently in their flags. So
even Pakistan,
Indonesia, all they do
right.
So, as I said, the symbol itself, no one knows its origins.
And Yashodhara, what's the symbol of Hinduism? Is there one? No.
Yeah. There are 5 to 6 main symbols, but I would like to mention 2, 3 here. Om is the main symbol. Actually, Om, the Hindus have a belief that it is the first Om, in the sense you say Om, like, then this is the first God's created sound. That's what they have the belief. Like, then they do this meditation and yoga and all, they used to, this Om will be used there. And again, this Om, if you say A-U-M, they use the word A-U-M, if you use the 3 things. So it's, they have into from Sanskrit to English. So they say what these 3 is, we have this God, Shiva, Vishnu and Brahma. So we say the Brahma is the creator of the world, and this Vishnu is the preserver, and Shiva is the destroyer. So these 3 things, actually the Om is reflects these 3 gods.
Right. Okay.
And other than that, even there is another belief that this 3 world, it reflects the 3 worlds, that is earth, atmosphere and heaven. So when we start any good things at maybe in ritual things, or when normally the Hindu students, when they write the exams, they in the exam paper itself, that first page, before they start writing the answer, they just put this Om.
They write Om in,
yes.
in the
Actually,
Tamil
it's a Sanskrit thing, but it has translated into Tamil also. We used to write Om. So they used to put their Om. So sometimes we may mistake, maybe it's a signature of the student or something.
That's very interesting.
And apart from that, Padma, that is lotus.
Yeah.
Lotus also main symbol. So actually, you can see the lotus rooted in the mud, but without getting wet or mud, no, that is there. That is show the one's way of life. You have to be, without attachment to the surroundings, you have to
it sort of rises out of the surroundings.
Yeah,
that's actually quite consistent with the Buddhist thought as well. It's almost like a trinity, the 3 men. And that brings us to Christianity. Sunetra, about the Father, Son and the... What's the main symbol, and what does the cross symbolize really?
Like I said, yes, the cross is the main symbol. And interestingly, the cross in ancient times was not looked at as something, it was more of a shameful symbol, because in the ancient times it was used as a method for killing people. So it was, and one of the most painful ways of a person being killed. So it was a weapon of torture and humiliation. But then what happened was Christ was born, and he came into the world to actually unite man and God. Because you needed someone who was perfect and sinless, who could actually become a sacrifice to join sinful man with God again. And so Christ, he was sinless, but he was nailed to a cross. And he died so that the cross becomes a symbol, again, like I told you, it's a symbol of love. When we talk about the cross, they talk about this thing where they ask Christ, how much do you love the world? And this is just a statement people we make, and he said, I love the world this much, and he stretched his arms wide onto the cross, and he was nailed. So it's a symbol of, again, it's a symbol of love, it's a symbol of salvation.
And in Buddhism, what is the main symbol?
Okay, the Buddhist symbol is a wheel, which is divided into 8 parts. Okay, there are 2 meanings attributed to this. One is the wheel of life and death. That is like something that a vicious loop that we are all caught in, which is difficult to get away from. And the second, I think the most core meaning attributed to is the 8 sections represent what is called the Noble Eightfold Path, which I don't want to go into details, but it is divided into 3 things: virtue, concentration and wisdom. So virtue helps you build concentration, which can be used for wisdom, which is inward gazing, like I told you at the beginning. Buddhism is all about going into your mind. So the Eightfold Path is represented in the 8 sections of the wheel.
And this is often called the Dharma Chakra.
It's often called the Dharma Chakra.
Activity 1. Answer the following questions. 1. Name any 2 speakers who took part in the discussion. 2. What are the religions discussed during the presentation? 3. Why are the religions discussed? Do the presenters feel it would be useful? If so, in what way? 4. Which of the following do the speakers discuss? A. Founders of the religions. B. Major beliefs of the religions. C. How these religions began. D. Why these religions were created. 5. Fill in the table given in your worksheet with the information you obtained by listening to the discussion. In section 2, you will hear about the roles of the religions and their importance to our society.
Right, we have seen that in spite of some very core differences, at the same time there are a lot of similarities between our religions, and there are thus a kind of a negotiating point to live together in harmony. For example, the Holy Quran says that a good word is like a good tree whose root is firmly fixed and whose top is in the sky. And the Bible says a soft answer turns away wrath. Similarly, that there's an Arabian proverb says, a wise man associating with the vicious becomes an idiot. And the Buddha said, asevanacha balanang, which means do not associate with the foolish. So, and the Bible says, give and it shall be given to you. For whatever measure you deal out to others, it will be dealt to you in return. That sounds to me pretty much like the idea of karma and karma vipaka, and which is also congruent with the Buddhist teaching of what you do comes back. So, in this context, we do see a lot of similarities. I would like to ask you, like say Lal first, what would you say is the religion that has the closest to Buddhism in terms of similar teaching, similar ways of life? What similarities do you see with other religions represented here and maybe elsewhere with Buddhism?
Right. I think I think when it comes to virtue, like virtue, I think we all agree on what virtue is. So basically, the 10 commandments that Sunetra spoke about, and Yashodhara spoke about the karma, that if you do good things, and Professor Rahim mentioned the fact that the harmony, harmonious aspect of life. So when it comes to virtue, I think all religions would agree. Of course, the final goal of religion is defined in symbols. So that's where the disagreement. I think the disagreements should be in the symbols. That's what I feel. I don't know. Maybe the others would like to add to that.
Yeah, Professor Rahim.
If your question is which of the religions I feel is closest to us, well, actually Islam is born of in the same region as Christianity and Judaism.
The Middle East.
Yes, the Middle East, which also gave rise to the religion of the Jews. So we share a lot in common. In fact, we believe in the same prophets that Christianity believes in, and lots of I think it has so much in common with the religion. So if the closest affinity I think is with Christianity, and also because I think the fundamental, in a sense, there is a fundamental difference in that Christianity and Islam believe in one God, and Hinduism and Buddhism, the concept of God is not so pronounced as in our religions.
And at the same time, there are similarities between Hinduism and Buddhism, but there are differences as well, and that may be in the belief of the three main gods.
Well, the Buddha was a Hindu, I think.
Yes, he was. Yes, so there are. Yashodhara, how would you interpret the differences between, or the similarities, if you like, of what you know of Buddhism and Hinduism?
Actually, there are much similarities between Buddhism and what I said was this ahimsa. I guess even again this rebirth. I think even the Buddhism believes and this karma and things. But there are differences. I think we believe in God. I think Buddhism, it's like they don't. I mean, Buddha is not. They are not considered Buddha as a Lord. So again, I want to make one point here. Actually, there is a general acceptance that Hindus have a many gods, but that is not the way. Actually, we also believe there's one God, actually that is Lord Shiva. So the way we want to be him, like the way, see, for example, if I want to preach for education, then I call Saraswati, but every god, you always see Shiva is the first and foremost. So you can see different people, even in the God is everywhere, even in the non-living, living things everywhere. So what we used to say is there is only one God, that is accepted. But that I said, no, there are different practices and beliefs. So people, even from India, if you say North Indian people, they want to worship Lord Shiva as the first. If you take South Indian, again they want to worship Lord Muruga. This Kataragama Deyo, we say here, Kataragama, it's a Muruga. So, but actually even the Hinduism have different sections, but we also believe in one God, because we always say one God is there, but different kinds of, I mean, how to say? Representation or manifestation. Yeah, like that. See, it time to time they just create, they say there is a new God and there is a new temple, they just put a new name, and but everywhere, it's a creative. That's how I find.
Right. Okay, this also leads us to the misinterpretation of original religions in today's world, especially for political reasons. And how do you see this happening, and why do you think religion has been used or misused, if you like, for political gain in today's world among all religions? How would you respond to that, Sunetra?
Yeah, like as you said, when you talk about religion, I mean, all religions teach us one basic how to behave and how to live your life. But the unfortunate thing is people in power tend to use that. In Marxism, basically they talk about religion, they define religion as an opiate of the masses.
Yes.
Because they talk about how the people who are suffering, and they are generally told, you live this life as you live, don't worry about the bad things that happen. At the end of the day, the good will get their reward and the bad will be punished, so that you are contented with your lot, however difficult your circumstances are.
And you accept whatever comes to you without questioning.
Exactly.
And that gives the powerful people the right to be where they are.
That is the one thing that religion can be misused for. And if you look at the various crusades and the various wars that have been waged in the name of religion, quite often it's not the religion itself which has been the cause of these wars. It's like various people's political agendas for which they have used religion, because religion is one of the things you can use to manipulate people very easily.
Yes.
Because it's something so close to you.
Yeah.
So because of that they use this. I think that is where the misinterpretations come around most often. People are misled or they are misguided by the way people interpret religion, and then they use that for their political gain most often. That is the unfortunate thing that has happened.
And it's sad even that Islam and Christianity have so
Very
much of similarity and born from the same area. And today, if you look in the global context, it's almost as if those two are at war. Professor Rahim, how do you interpret this?
Yeah, I think I agree with Sunetra that it's people using religion for political ends. It's not the fault of the religion per se, but it's it's something else. And I also think there is another aspect to this. It is also the fact that people don't go out and look at another religion. You are born into a religion, you stay there, and you don't think that other religions will have the same message, and so you treat the other as an enemy. You don't bother to understand, you don't bother to go and learn about it, and I think that contributes to a lot of this hostility, misunderstanding, and war. Because there is you don't take the trouble to make people aware of other religions, that they're all saying the same thing, that we're all in the same world together. We have these messages in different forms, and I think so that so
it's like a lack of awareness of the others, so therefore what you don't know you consider as the enemy. And countries and presidents in power and all haven't helped that either, because of the kind of things they do. Lal, how would you say Buddhism has been? Do you think it has been politicized too much, and how has it affected the people who practice it? And do you think
Okay, I do agree with you that Buddhism has been great or certain extent, we are not sure, but politicized. I think religion is a unifying force, and it's very easy for someone who wants to do politics to tap into that unifying force
As
using,
Sunetra said.
like for instance, using symbols of religion. Of course, the religion gets the bad name in the end.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think as a result of Buddhism being politicized, I think we are going away from the crux of the teaching. The teaching says purity of mind, loving kindness, compassion, with purity of mind at the center. So when material things come in, when people run after these symbols, it becomes a problem. People think the religion is something else. So I think that's the danger there of such an action.
Right. And often religion is also linked to ethnicity, and it's often used in fights for territory and all that. But how do you see that, Yashodhara? How is religion used, say, to mobilize, say, an ethnic group? Do you think it's used? Or?
Yeah, if you see this point, like adding to what these previous speakers said, I would like to make a mention, like if you say these religious conflict in, take Sudan, take Rwanda, there are two different groups, Tutsi and Hutu.
Yeah.
They are majority, I think, Roman Catholic. Then again, the minority is indigenous people.
I see.
Take India, Kashmir, majority dominated societies Muslims, then Hindus. If you see how I see this problem is like where the high concentration of a particular religion is there, so obviously the one group will be a minority. So there are these people using, so we are the majority, so we have the power, everything. So what they use, as Sunetra said, they using this religion to politicize. And then they say, see, whatever they actually teach the people also, people, because as Professor Rahim said, awareness, lack of awareness. So people, because of these politics, whoever say this is our religion, said this is the things we have, then people will follow that. And people say rulers, whatever the ruler say is correct. If a ruler is from the majority, the religion, so people think what he says is correct. So in that way, I think this high concentration, because if equally concentrated and all, I don't think this much problem will be there. If you look at the world religious conflict everywhere, if you see 75-25, 85-50, this is the percentage. So this is how I see this ethnicity. They relating to the ethnicity, and they want to claim for homeland or territory or like.
So geographical concentration,
Yes.
a lack of awareness. Yes. So what do you think is the solution for all this? Is creating awareness among school children, among anybody? I don't want to ask any particular speaker, but anyone would like to volunteer how we can address, to actually bring this discussion to a close. Any ideas about how we can create awareness to bring religions, cross-religious communication about?
Yeah, I think in fact Sri Lanka is, I think, a marvelous example where you can do this, because as we said at the beginning, that we have all religions here. It's one country where, one small little country.
In a small space.
And I think one of the things that I really like about Sri Lanka is that, even if, maybe there are wars and maybe there are problems, but, you go into any city or town, you'll always find a kovil, a Buddhist temple, a mosque, a church.
Yes.
I don't see that in many countries of the world. You go to the West, it's only churches and a few mosques or something like that. But here, every city, almost every village, you will find this mixture of religion, and I think we can easily build on that, as you say, teaching our children, maybe from school age itself. Respective is already in your neighborhood, and I don't think it's that difficult for us to reach out to the other person and warmly welcome them into our own families.
Absolutely. And like learning a language, say now Sinhalese students are taught Tamil, why not have even religion 1, religion 2? I've always thought about it. Why are we taught only our religion as a subject? Maybe we have to take another religion, something. An interesting thing happened once during the height of our conflict. An Irish visitor came. Ireland had a conflict between Catholics and Protestants. And during the height of our conflict, which he thought was religious, outsiders often think it's a Buddhist-Hindu conflict. I was taking him around and showing him kovils and temples and mosques. And I walked into this Hindu kovil and I put a small offering and put my palms together. As a Buddhist, I found affinity there. And he was shocked. He said, they allowed you to go there. You're Sinhalese. And I said, yes. So in many ways, we have integration at the bottom. So it's like almost as if people in power are the ones who create the divide in many ways. Anything to say to that, Lal or